Hello and welcome to the Downsized. My name is Christopher Durham, and I have lost a little more than 100 pounds over the last year and a half using Zepbound Mounjaro Tirzepatide. And this is a channel that we like to call the Downsized. My wife and I started it to talk to people about GLP-1s. We've had success with them, and we went, hey, let's start a YouTube channel. So we do news, we interview folks like you see here, Kevin, and we do it every day. Today, I'm excited to welcome Kevin. How you doing, man?
I'm really well. How are you?
Kevin is all the way in the other side bottom of the world, but we'll bring him on in just a minute. Before I do that, though, let me say, first of all, we're not doctors. This is not medical advice. So if you're interested in taking GLP-1s or adjusting your journey, please talk to your doctor and have them build a plan just for you so you make sure you take care of yourself. This is just for entertainment purposes, and this is our own unique history. I can say I'm an expert at Christopher. I'm not an expert at you. If you also would take one moment and hit the like and subscribe button, maybe even hit that bell, it'll alert you every time we publish something, and you'll know what we're doing every day. All right, Kevin, welcome, man.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Very good. Well, so tell us a little bit about Kevin, first of all, and then we'll get into weight loss and all the other fun things.
Sure. So I grew up in the States, originally from Arizona, went to high school in Oregon, and then I moved to Sydney in 2007. So it's been an interesting ride. But yeah, I have really struggled with my weight pretty much my whole life. The same kind of story. Body wants to be bigger than my health warrants. So I've fought that for a long time, did most of the things you do, and finally landed in Mounjaro in Australia because we don't have Zepbound here. Mounjaro is approved for weight loss as well as type 2 diabetes. So yeah, that's kind of the high level overview.
Well, so talk to us about that. How did you get to, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I've always been very physically active. So when I was in high school, I was studying karate. I got my black belt. I managed to maintain my weight by basically skipping meals and then doing crazy amounts of exercise. I'm talking, 5 hours of workout most nights. And that managed to work while I was that age. But you can't maintain that as you go into professional life. And so over time, basically, my weight just got larger and larger. Really struggled, particularly with just being hungry all the time. People told me it was emotional eating, that I needed to go see a therapist, and I would talk to the therapist, and the therapist would be like, "Why are you eating?" And I'm like, "Because I'm hungry." And they're like, "You're not really hungry though." And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, that works. Thanks.
I am really hungry, though. Like I actually feel like actual hunger and food noise all the time. And they were just basically like, "No, but you're saying you're eating satiating food. So if you're telling me the truth about that, then you don't really feel hungry." And pretty much just got gaslit until a place that I thought that it was all in my head and it was all emotional and coping, which is part of the reason that Mounjaro for me was such a revelation, because from that first dose, that just flipped off immediately like a light switch. And so I've now been on Mounjaro. I've stayed on the 2.5 milligram dose for the entirety of my journey.
Wow.
I have lost at this point about 35 kilograms, which is 79 pounds by my math. And just by doing once a week, 2.5, nice and boring. But it was
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
so painful to me to realize that like I've spent basically 20 years of my life fighting something that didn't exist in my head because people told me that I must be emotional eating. And what it actually was is my body's set point is higher than it should be. And there's lots of reasons that might be. We can talk about food environment and all those things, but basically, yeah, it just comes down to I want to eat more than my body needs in general. So turn that off and it's all better.
I talked to a therapist the other day who basically said she had called a couple of her clients and apologized because she wasn't trying to gaslight them. She didn't know the truth either.
Yeah. No, none of us did. I mean, that was the reality. Like the only options we had were surgery or it's in your head. Like the only other option, which is actually the correct advice in my case, would have been to say, no, you're just going to have to be hungry. You're just going to have to learn to deal with that. And, I don't know how many people are very good at that in practice. But at least for me, it was not a tenable position. And that's why it was just so stark when just flip it off like a light switch and problem is solved. Off I go.
Well, so give me all the numbers though, because people always want to know, well, is he like me? Right. So
Sure.
age, height, weight, give me all the.
Yep. So I am 6 foot. I am 42. And yeah, in terms of starting weight in pounds, I started at 297, and as of today, I am 218. My current goal is 99 kilos, just because I like the idea of the two digits situation.
Yeah.
I am about, I think, 2 pounds off of that. So it's
Okay.
any day now. It'll click over. So
I think that's exciting, man. I mean, so as you said, in Australia, there's no Mounjaro Zepbound distinction. That's a uniquely American thing. It's the same medicine though. Same.
yes.
And do you do
Yep.
you have the U.S. pen or do you have the European pen?
So I am still on vials. So
Oh,
when
you're
they
on vials. You're on the single
yeah,
dose vials. Yeah, yeah, the little tiny
yeah.
ones.
Yeah. Now they've actually quit those quite a while ago, but
Hmm.
I have a little bit of a stash, so I've been working through those. So I also have two quick pins, which are the click
Yeah.
twisty. So I will be switching to those shortly. I'm almost out of vials. I think I might be the last vial user in Australia at this point, from what I can tell on social media, just because I managed to work up a nice little stash. But yeah.
Well, so what does your doctor say about you staying on 2.5 this whole time?
She loves it. So she basically is of the view that if less is working, then that's better. There's no reason to use more unless you need it medically. And so her view for a long time. So after it had been about 3 months on the 2.5, she's like, any day now, you're going to need the five. Like, just I'll start prescribing five to you, because it was actually the same price here for 2.5 milligram vials and 5 milligram vials. So she said, I'll just give you the fives. You can half dose them until you decide you want to go up. Then you can go up without talking to me. And so I've been using those 5 milligram vials this whole time and have not yet gone up. Just haven't needed it. So
I think that's exciting. Well, so everybody always wants to know because there's always all these pricing conversations, right? It's so expensive in the US. Talk to me
yep.
about pricing and availability and all that in Australia.
Sure. So our doses are priced differently. So in Australian dollars, the 2.5 milligram pen, which gives you 4 official doses, plus there's some extra that some people use. But that 4 dose pen is 280 Australian. The 5 milligram, I've just done the conversion, it's 390 Australian for the 5 milligram pen, and that's 254 US dollars for 4 official, 1 unofficial dose. So it works out quite cost effectively for us. In fact, I am saving money since starting this medication because I buy so much less food. It's just been nuts. But the top doses are 700 Australian dollars for the pen.
So it gets pretty close to what we're paying here then. It's top doses.
Yeah, I mean, the UK definitely gets it cheaper than we do, because
Yeah.
they have a different system that kind of negotiates a little bit harder. Basically, our pressure on the pharmaceutical companies here is, if you want us to subsidize it with tax dollars, we will, but you're going to have to bring the price down to the point where our formula works to show that the cost benefit is there. So Novo Nordisk did that with Ozempic, but they did not do that with Wegovy. So Ozempic pens here are about $180 if you're paying cash. If you qualify for the subsidy, then they're $32 a month. But then Wegovy is about 430 Australian dollars. So a lot of people were being prescribed specifically Ozempic because it's half the price and it's exactly the same medication. And then with the shortages, basically Novo stopped sending Ozempic here because they realized they could sell Wegovy for double the price, and they could force a lot of the diabetics over to Wegovy. And so we've had Ozempic shortages for about 2-3 years at this point. But Wegovy is everywhere, and it's like we know what's going on with that. So yeah.
Same factory, folks.
Yeah, same factory, different sticker, but we get to charge double. Yeah, they've tried to put Mounjaro on that program 4 times now. It's just for diabetes, not for weight loss, but just the diabetes indication. And it has been knocked back 4 times because the formula doesn't work. They're basically like, the price is too high to justify the benefit that people get from this medication. And we're not saying there's no benefit. We're just saying that the price is too high. So if you drop the price, we will subsidize it. And now the pharmaceutical companies have gotten basically the Trump administration to lobby our government and to say, we'll give you crazy tariffs on your pharmaceutical exports to the United States unless you let us take your tax money and pad our profits with it. And at this point, Australia is just going, no thanks, you can tariff us if you need to tariff us, but we're not doing that. So that's where we're at as of today.
Yeah, there's a interesting program running in the UK right now where their NHS is got a pretty big trial going this, and they're giving out Mounjaro to see if they can reduce out of work time.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
they're trying to find that magical number that will help justify things. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
I mean, it will eventually get PBS listed here, I'm certain. Most drugs that are widely used end up getting that listing and end up being subsidized. And in fact, most of the time when I go to the pharmacist, it will be a PBS prescription of some description. It's just because this is a new drug and the pricing is high that that formula hasn't worked out. And of course, everybody in Australia that is on these meds wants more access. We want things to be cheaper, like just about everybody on the planet. But yeah, patents are patents. We get how it works. We'll wait.
Oh, so you've had the interesting experience of seeing both the US system and the Australian system. How would you compare and contrast them?
I mean, I can't even really compare the systems in the sense that I was diagnosed with sleep apnea in the US. My sleep study was, I think they billed my insurance like $21,000 for that one night in the sleep lab. And then my copay was 200 something, right? That was in the States. And when I got to Australia, they said, we can't trust your sleep study because it was done overseas. And therefore you don't have a sleep apnea diagnosis in Australia. And I was worried because I hadn't sorted out insurance here. And I was like, what is even going to happen? Like, I can't afford to pay for a car to go get diagnosed with a thing I already know I have, with a CPAP machine I already also have. Like, what is this? And they were like, no, it's not like that at all. So you have two options. You can go in the private system. The private system will be able to get you in this week. It will cost about $300. That's just the full price. Or you can go the public system. We can get you in 5 weeks, and that will be free. And I went, free?
5 weeks sounds good.
Yeah. And they went, okay. So I went to the sleep lab at the public hospital. It was, much more outdated technology than in the US. There was a microphone that, hangs here in front of your face instead of the one up in the ceiling. And they had an older machine to titrate you with. And, it was all kind of older, clunkier equipment, but free? Like, sure. And so the Australian system, basically, we all get public coverage, and then you can optionally add private on top. And those two things work together. So if you are somebody who cannot afford the private system, then the public system is available to you. And there are all kinds of stories of, my hip replacement took 2 years, but the reality is then they get the hip replacement and it's covered. So they at least have the option at some point to get the healthcare they need. And if you want to make that go quicker and you can afford to, then by all means, pay for it yourself. And that's what I've done. I had some elective surgeries. I chose to pay for those because they wouldn't have been covered under Medicare. They considered them to be not medically necessary. In this case, it was to help with my breathing for the sleep apnea. And the price all up, including everything, was about $2,500 Australian.
Yeah, so it's a real hybrid system, which I think is an intriguing opportunity. So many people think you're
Yeah.
either all in complete socialized or all in complete capitalized medicine. And
Yeah. And we
most
actually
countries are kind of in the middle.
we put pressure on people to add the private, in the sense that if you don't choose to take up private insurance, then your taxes go up, because we realize that you'll be on the public system for the most expensive years of your life, which are the later years. So you basically need to get yourself private insurance by the age of 30, or you will be charged more tax. But when I say more tax, I'm talking, I think it's about 3 or 4% of my taxes go to pay for my healthcare. And my taxes are comparable to what I used to pay in the US. So I believe that if you just look at how much we pay versus how much we get, the curve is just nuts compared to what I see coming from the US.
Well, so talk to me then, because you mentioned you have sleep apnea, and the medication and the weight loss, how has that impacted your health and how you are today?
I still have sleep apnea. I think it'll just be the shape of my airway. Like they showed me imaging of my throat when I went in the first time, and it's just like a little pinhole. So I used to snore just watching movies. Like I would just be sitting up, breathing in a somewhat relaxed state, and I'd start to kind of half snore. So there's just no space there. So I think I've always thought, and the more weight I lose, the more this proves it, that it's not actually weight pressing down on my neck. There's not actually that much fat there. It's just I have a super tiny airway. When that relaxes, it closes. I just have sleep apnea. So that's likely to be a lifetime thing for me. Um, who knows? Maybe it'll help me get PBS coverage for Mounjaro because I can get my sleep apnea treated with it for life this way. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
Well, so how about the rest of your health? Blood pressure, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, my numbers have always been pretty good. I remember going to a doctor's appointment here about 3 years ago, and he was desperate to find a number to scare me with. So he was like flipping through the blood work and he's going, okay, now your folate, this is going to show me how many vegetables you eat, how many leafy greens, and it's good. And your liver function, it's going to be showing me how much junk food you eat, and it's normal. And your blood pressure is going to show me how much salt you eat, and it's actually on the low side of good. And I finally just looked at him. I was like, mate, you can just say I'm fat. It's fine. Like, I understand what you're trying to do. Just tell me I'm fat. I can move on. I understand. But the thing is, like, I commute to work by bike. I did so this morning. I just did a stair challenge in one of the buildings here in Sydney, and it's 40 stories. You just start on the ground floor and climb to the top. I did it last year, and it was a nothing burger for me. So I was like, I'm going to try to do it at least twice this year. And I ended up just keeping going because I could. And I did it 5 times.
Wow.
So I've always been, as far as like all the markers for my health, I've always been a relatively healthy, obese person, which, doesn't give the doctors a lot to work with to scare me on, but I think has been good for me. So yeah, my blood pressure's gone down slightly. All my numbers have improved slightly, but I mean, they weren't that bad to begin with. So, yeah.
That's what Lorraine says too, and it's all good, man. It's well. So talk to me. Have you had any side effects?
I've had not a single side effect, but I've also stayed on the 2.5 milligrams. So, for me, it's what I like to say on the support groups is people come in all afraid about side effects, and I say, if you're like me, your only side effect will be anxiety over side effects that you then will not experience. That will be your side effect. Because that I had anxiety over side effects, and then I did not have side effects. So
Well, that's what I mean. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, please do not go out and spend $500 on all the other remedies that people are telling
no,
you to buy.
no, you don't need a care pack. Like you might need something, but let's wait and see what that is before we get
And
all
you can
excited.
get it from your doctor or a local store, almost
Yeah.
in any developed
Yeah.
nation in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and here my prescriber is accessible via telehealth, so I can literally just call her, and I will have like if I needed a Zofran prescription, I could get one very quickly. So I wasn't worried. I figured I'd just jump in, see how it went. If it was really rough, then I'd deal with that. But no, it's been like take this. It's like Tylenol for hunger. Experience nothing else other than your digestion slowing down for a couple of days, pretty obviously, which is a primary effect of the medication. That's it. That's been
No big surprise there. Well, so
no big surprise. Almost
I
80
know
pounds.
you're a big Reddit guy. So tell me about the
Yeah.
Reddit stuff you do.
Yeah. So there's two subreddits that I moderate. So one is GLP-1 Australia. The other is Mounjaro Australia. And basically, I just really enjoy kind of connecting with the community. We try to run, Reddit can be a bit Wild West. I try to run something that's a little bit less like that. I don't like when we provide dosing advice to people. We are not licensed prescribers of this medication.
Absolutely.
I can tell you what I have done with regards to my dosing, but I can't tell you what you should do for yours. Your prescriber can tell you that. You should go talk to your prescriber. So we try to run kind of a sane space in that area. But yeah, it's been fun. The GLP-1 Australia subreddit was new. I created that from scratch. We're now around 2,000 people, which is, yeah, it's fun. It's been fun to grow together.
So Reddit has a tendency to be a bit more guy focused too, right? Uh,
Yeah.
And obviously, historically, these medications have tended towards the female side of it. If you look at our interviews, there's a lot more women that have been interviewed.
Yeah.
And then talk to me about that whole conversation in Australia.
Yeah. I mean, I think that basically in Australia, I think the world over, from what I've seen, women just get trash thrown at them no matter what they do with their bodies. Like, you can't be skinny, then you're skinny. You can't be fat, then you're fat. You can't be good looking, then you're too good looking. You just basically can't
Yeah.
win, from what I can tell. Whereas men, we have it in kind of a different way. There's pressure to be certain things, but I think there's just a lot less scrutiny over our bodies in general, for better or worse. And so our conversation here, most of the social groups I'm in are majority women, and I'm more than happy to kind of tell them how I think about things. But yeah, it's an interesting social problem, I would put it, is that um, I want us to be able to remain body positive as we aim to become healthier, and I don't think those things are in conflict. So for me, I want people to be treated fairly and equitably, regardless of their body. But I also want people to have access to treatment if that's what they choose to do for themselves. So that's really what I'm trying to aim for.
We're all on the same page on that one, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, well, so I'm intrigued. You've obviously been fighting this your whole life. And you said when you first started taking this, it was kind of a revelation. Dive into that
Yeah.
a little bit more for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think the overwhelming emotion went from disbelief, like I was confused at what was happening, because for me, I took the medication came, and it was Wednesday night, which was the night I wanted to inject anyway. So I was like, okay, well, like, if not now, then when? So I just went and did it. And dinner wasn't ready yet, but I had already started kind of trying to lose weight, because I've done this a lot of times. I knew how to lose weight. I just didn't know how to maintain. And so I was basically already on the path of starving myself to get that weight loss to happen. So when I was sitting there waiting for dinner to be ready, I was hungry. I'm sitting there with the growling stomach, and I'm like, when's it going to be ready? When's it going to be ready? And over the next half an hour after I did the shot, it kind of went from a 9 of hunger down to a 7, down to a 5, down to a 3, and it just kind of kept dropping. And by the time dinner was ready, I was like, I know I should eat because I was just starving, but I don't feel the urgency to eat anymore. And it was very weird, because I'd never really felt that sensation of, like, you don't actually have to eat right now. I've been hungry my whole life, I realize. Um, and so at first it was just confusion of, like, what even is going on? Is this something I can depend on now? Is this my new normal? Is this just because I just put the drug on and I'll go back to the way I was? Like, I had no idea what was going to happen. And then about a week in, it finally clicked, like, oh no, this is what this is going to be like. You just can make rational choices about food now, and you don't have this constant reptile brain screaming in your ear all day, every day to eat. So you can just make choices. And then I switched to being angry, because I was like, you know,
Yeah.
is this what everyone else, is this like all the people that have been telling me to just put the fork down? Is this how they live their lives? Because if it is, then I understand where their advice is coming from, because now I can just put the fork down. I understand. But wow, like, it's so different. You have no idea how different that experience is. And you have no idea how much pressure there is to just constantly eat. And then I got angry about all the therapy I'd received, about how it was all emotional eating. And then I kind of worked through that anger, and I got to the place where it was like, okay, I didn't know better. They didn't know better, but now we know better. And now we can look at this physiologically, and we can understand that this is a disease, and that it is a relapsing chronic disease that needs treatment. And I hope we get treatment that is more permanent. But at this point, like I said, since I'm saving money, I'm kind of like, unless there's a medical reason to change anything, if it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it. I'm just going to hang out. You know, I can do this.
See, I got to a point, because I was in the anger piece with you as well. I also got angry with all of the people in my life who were basically morally superior about being able to choose to put the fork down.
Yep. 100%.
I'm like, you guys didn't do anything. You didn't do it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were
You're
not
fighting.
better. You were not smarter. You didn't have
Nope.
more willpower.
Nope.
Your body was just working in your favor.
Yeah. Or at least not fighting you. You know, like I don't know what their experience is, but I know what mine was. And I know that like my body used to hold me hostage. I would eat a reasonable amount of calories and I would count them. I would weigh with a kitchen scale. I'd count them. I'm like, I've had enough calories for the day. It's time to go to bed. And so then I would try to go to bed. And my brain would just be like, what you're going to do right now is you're going to eat some really calorie dense food because that's what I want. And I'd be like, nope, I'm sleeping. And I would fight that for 2, 3, 4 hours. And by about 2 a.m., it was like, well, I mean, if you want to sleep, you're going to have to eat some calorie dense food. And I'd be like, right, you're getting a carrot. And I'd eat a carrot and I'd go back to bed. And then my brain would be like, nope, still can't sleep. I told you, you need that calorie dense food. We're below our set point. You're starving. You know there's food. It's in the cupboard. Let's think about that some more. And it would just hold me hostage. And at some point I would just go, you know, I want to be able to work tomorrow. I want to be able to be productive. So I guess, you know, what's my choice? And I, for a while, I really tried to fight it. And I was like, I'll just be exhausted until I'm not, you know, I'm just going to win. I don't care. Uh, and, you know, after 2 weeks of that, you're getting 4 hours of sleep a night. Body still won't give up. You know, it just felt like I was being held hostage and I couldn't make progress on it without finding some way to be satiated after dinner. And so that was what all my conversations were about. And then of course they're like, well, that's just your emotional eating. What's going on in your life? Let's talk about your emotional side. And nothing's going on in my life. I'm happy. I'm fine. Things are great. I'm hungry.
Well, it turns out you are in fact a Mounjaro super responder at 2.5 the whole time and no
Well,
side effects. So you're rocking and rolling out, man.
I mean, it's funny because I have had a lot of discussions with people online because many people define super responder based on the speed of the weight loss, not on the amount
Yeah,
of
I
the
don't,
loss
I
on
don't,
the
I don't
dose.
think so.
I I'm with you. I don't think. I mean, the alternative is to say that my response is normal, but I mean, I've lost 25% of my body weight on 2.5 milligrams. I wouldn't call that a standard response given the clinical trial data that we have. But you know, I'm not particularly fussed about labels. I will take the 5 milligram the minute I need it. I mean, this is the other thing I tell people is like, all these people chat me and they go like, how can I stay on 2.5 like you did? And I'm like, please don't fall into the trap where you start blaming yourself again with yet another way for that you aren't good enough. Like if you
Absolutely.
need the treatment, take the treatment. If your body does not want to be on the low dose, if your set point does not decrease on the low dose, take the treatment you need. There is no shame or harm in taking whatever dose of this medication that you need to get where you need to go. So just drop the shame. It's okay. We are biologically broken. We have a tool that helps us treat that. Don't judge yourself for not needing, you know, not being able to microdose your way down to a healthy BMI. That's not a thing. You know, don't do it.
Well, I have on several occasions told people to get off their high horse about staying on the lower dose too. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I
like,
mean, like I just feel lucky. I don't
yeah,
feel superior.
but
I just
that's the
feel
right
lucky.
attitude.
Yeah. I'm just like, you know, for me, of course, with the pricing we have, it's like triple lucky, right? Because it makes it so much cheaper for me, which is part of the reason why, like I've had 2 month-long stalls at this point. And at each point, I'm like, you know, every week goes by and I'm like, is this the time? Do I need to use, I've got that 5 milligram vial right there. Do I need to use the 5? And I just kind of keep thinking about it. Each time I was like, look, if it really stops, then fine. But I still feel that like I feel that the hunger is not there. So to me, then the medication's doing what it's meant to do, and the rest is on me. And that's kind of how I see it.
Well,
So
so stalls are an interesting conversation, and I'm sure you see it in your Reddits over there. But I mean, it's a constant theme in Reddit and Facebook over here.
yeah,
People
same.
are always looking for a tip or a trick or something to
Yep.
make it happen. So, what is your approach when you have stalls? How are you looking at that?
I'm the really annoying guy that shows up on that thread and says, my tool that I use to break a stall is patience. I'm really sorry, but
Dude,
that's
we're
my
on the
tool.
same page.
That's that's my tool. And like, yeah, go ahead and assess. Like anytime people are saying I'm not losing weight, I'm like, okay, the first thing you need to do is gather data. So go figure out what it is you're eating and take a diary of that for a week or two. I mean, I'll be the first person to tell you that counting calories is not sustainable, at least for me, for the rest of my life. It doesn't need to be. What you need to do is get yourself some data around exactly what's going on. Then you have some information and you can come to the group and you can say, here's my food log. This is what I'm eating. What's going on? And we can try to help you. But for some people, they're eating so little that their body is flipped over into they're hungry all the time and they're fighting all these cravings, and it's because they aren't eating enough. And so then they end up eating calorie dense food, kind of in the same, trapped
Yep.
in the same cycle I was in before the meds, right? And for those people, I say eat more, not because I believe in starvation mode, I don't, but because I think that if you can stay even keel with what you're doing, it's the right approach. You don't want to be extremely calorie restricted to the point where you're not nourishing your body. On the flip side, you don't want to have so many calories that you're not losing weight. Somewhere in the middle is the right answer.
We get all these people. They're like, "Well, have you tried a different shot location?" I'm like, "You want me to tell you a secret? There is no shot location has nothing to do with it. Personal opinion.
Yeah,
It doesn't cost you anything to try, so go for it."
yeah. Well, but with our pens, I mean, the thing I've noticed is because we have with a quick pen where you twist it and then you actually have to push that plunger down. That requires a fair amount of force, and so people try to do stuff like the back of their arm, and they're trying to like push this plunger down and like wedge it against a wall, and then like they bend the needle off into their arm. Like,
oh no,
don't hurt yourself. Like, it's not worth it. Thigh, belly, fine, or get someone else to do your arm. That's what I would recommend. But honestly, I'm not convinced by the injection location thing. Just given how the medication works, within a few hours, it's all over your body. It's unlikely to matter. And the studies that we have on this, including the small study that Eli Lilly did specifically,
44 people, folks, 44 in that study.
So what we say on the wiki on the GLP-1 Australia subreddit is if you want to base your decision based on one person experiencing a side effect or not in a small study, then that's a thing you can do. But we consider the evidence to not be convincing at this stage. We remain open-minded. If a new study comes along that convinces us otherwise, fine. People report all kinds of anecdotal stories about it. But I will say, like, satiety is controlled by about 30 hormones in your body. We're leaning on 2. In the case of Wegovy, you're leaning on 1. Great. That's really powerful. But there are still 28 others or 29 others, and they all fluctuate. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to have that high cortisol levels. You can get catecholamine. These are all things that are going to make you hungry. Ghrelin is going to pop up. It's going to make you hungry. And so from one week to the next, you may have a variance for all kinds of reasons. Not for me personally, but menstrual cycle often is a thing that comes up. And all of those variables conspire to change what's happening around the medication. So then people switch to a different location and they go, "Oh, I feel so different." It's like, it's also a different week. Let's keep that in mind. So that's my position on it, just based on the reading I've done.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I think because our bodies are not constants. We're different moment to moment.
Yep.
We poop, we pee, we eat, we sweat, we do all the things. So we're constantly changing, and then you put the medication in it. So to me, every dose, every week, it's going to be a little different.
Yeah. And the big thing I argue for is just consistency. Like, if you aren't regularly taking your shot, you're going to struggle, because if you skip 1 week, it takes about 3 weeks for that level to recoup your body back to where it was. And so, like, is it the end of the world if you skip a week? No, but given the choice, I wouldn't. I take my meds with me on vacation. I do it regularly. Given the choice, I will just consistently be doing this on Wednesday.
I'm working on T-shirts right now that just say "Just take your shot."
Just take it. Yeah, and like I do genuinely empathize with people that have a different side effect experience to me. I can understand, like, hey, I'm going on a cruise and I don't want to feel bad the whole time. My view on that is, like, you should be working to not feel bad all the time, no matter what. Like, regardless of if you're traveling, you should be able to get, for most people, side effects under control to the place where you are not feeling awful. And feeling awful all the time is not a way to live, and especially not for the rest of your life. So if you can find a way to work with your prescriber on your dose, work with your prescriber on other treatment strategies for the things you're experiencing, then you get to this place where you don't feel nauseous, you don't have reflux, you aren't constantly getting sulfur burps, like, you're not doing all those things. And so when it comes time to go on vacation, it's just normal. You just take the shot.
This is our life.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just is
that's
what
what
it
I want.
is.
I just want, like, I want to be normal. I don't want to trade my previous abnormal for a new abnormal, right? So,
I tell people, I mean, I'm like, I didn't start this thinking I want to be skinny. I didn't start it thinking I wanted to be a weightlifter. I started thinking I just wanted to be normal, just
yep,
average.
yep,
Right? Just
yeah. And I think I'm still not normal at all, but I'm much more normal with food, at least.
for whatever normal is. Well, talk to me about food though. So talk to me about what you're eating, and
Yep.
you said you were saving money.
Yeah, I am. So I never used to eat. So I'll tell you before and after. That's the best way to describe this. So I used to skip breakfast because if I ate breakfast, it was just yet another meal that I would eat. Um, so I would skip breakfast, then I'd have probably 600 calorie lunch, something reasonable. Then I'd have a reasonable sized dinner, like an 800 calorie, medium large dinner, and then the nighttime monster would come out, and I would probably between 200 on a good day or 1500 calories on a bad day, right? So that was my kind of constant fight. Um, as soon as I started the medication, my prescriber was like, look, I know that you haven't eaten breakfast. I would encourage you to try. We're not sure. I'm not sure if it'll be good for you, but let's try. And since I've actually switched to having a breakfast every morning because I realized I wasn't getting enough calories in. So now I have overnight oats with chia, Greek yogurt, and a pear every morning. Sometimes I'll go out and we'll have bacon, eggs, or whatever, but most of the time it's just that. Then my lunch is usually some kind of protein on leaves. So poke bowl, chicken salad, whatever. I don't worry too much about what's in the dressing or what's on the, it's just leaves and protein. And then for dinner, I have whatever my partner's having. I'm pleased that I don't have to kind of try to control what we do for dinner. Like if he wants to have something junky, I usually order the best option I can choose rationally at that location. But there are plenty of times that I will have normal food at normal events. I have eaten pizza. I have eaten these things. It's not commonplace, but I will have it probably once every couple of months. So for the most part, that's my food. If I find that nighttime demon comes out now, I have a protein bar or a protein water, and I am good for the evening. So that's it. My 200 calorie splurge. Oh no, right? Like,
But it's interesting because listening to you, there's no deprivation there. There's no diet. I can have this. I can't have that going
nope,
on.
not at all. I eat everything. And I'm mindful of what's calorie dense, right? So that's the way I do this without calorie counting is I did that for long enough that I can look at a slice of pizza and just know what that costs me. And so in my mind, I'm kind of going like, hey, if this is calorie dense, I just need to control my portion, which now I can. Like genuinely before, it was very difficult to stop once I started. Like if there's a pizza in front of you and you have one slice, it was very difficult to stop. Now I can have 2, 3 slices and be like, right, that's dinner. I'm good. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of keep that in the back of my mind. But because I've got everything so on autopilot with my other meals, um, if I have my overnight oats and I have my leaves and protein, or I have like a 6-inch from Subway or something, like whatever reasonable 500 calorie-ish is what I'm having
Right.
for lunch. By the time I hit dinner, I've only had 900 calories and I haven't been hungry all day. So now I can afford to have 1,000 calorie dinner if I want to. There's nothing stopping me from just living the way that normal people do, which is like on weekends, they'll go to a party and they'll eat, right? I've watched many of my normal weight friends do this.
Mhm.
And the way to do it is just by having this baseline habit of not consuming so many calories that these things blow you out, right? So that's my main advice to people is just make it so that like by default, it's easy. Instead of having to constantly make choices, you can kind of just get into this groove where like, if you just do the normal thing, then it's working for you instead of you constantly trying to have to steer the ship and be like, no, I did have that snack. So now I need to worry about blah. And like at work, I get distracted enough with work now that I sometimes even forget to eat lunch, which is mind blowing to old me. But I'm just in this groove where like breakfast is easy, lunch is easy. When I travel, I just pre-make the overnight oats and bring them with me. It's really not a big deal. And so I consider it to be quite boring at this point, which is good because I'm about to click into either maintenance or a little bit more loss. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out as I go, but I feel like I can do this the rest of my life because I'm not working at it hard. You know, all that's happening is I'm following my routine and I don't have my body constantly fighting me.
I think that's a good thing. I mean, we've taken, because Lorraine is a huge pizza fan. Lorraine loves pizza.
Yep.
So, but what we did was we shifted basically from cheap, calorie dense
Yep.
Papa John's, Domino's, whatever, right? It's like $12 for
For
1,000, 15,
an
whatever
army's worth of
calories.
calories. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, basically you're buying calories by the pound at that point. You
Yeah.
know, it's a value equation too. There's a great little Neapolitan place by us that the guys imported this oven from Italy, and he's doing a little small, just really nice with imported
Yep.
Italian flour. So we'll get a little one and split it and have a
Awesome.
salad.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
the quality, I mean, it's not any cheaper, but and you're getting
No.
a lot less food, but it doesn't matter. We don't
Yeah.
care. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like I get to have something that I wanted, and it's not, I don't feel
Yeah.
guilty. It's not bad for me. It's, you know,
Yeah.
all those things. So I think it's,
Uh,
I don't know. I feel like we're being smarter about things.
Like you, I feel a real drive to like, if I'm going to eat something, it better be good because I'm not going to get very much of it in general. Like, I mean, I'll put it another way. I had friends come over from the States that hadn't seen me for ages, and we went out to eat at an Indian restaurant. And at the end of the meal, I told them that I was on Mounjaro, and they said, I couldn't tell. They're like, I've got 6 friends on Ozempic. I can tell with them, right? They go and they have a couple of bites and that they're kind of eating like a bird, which is great. That's, again, we need to make some change or we're not going to lose weight, right? But they said, with you, I can't tell because you're just eating a normal sized meal. And I said, yeah, that's kind of why I have been motivated to stay on this low dose is I can just operate normally in the world. You know, I don't have to go out and order a kid's meal or something, but because I'm not baseline hungry all the time, it never adds up to more of the calories than I can afford. So,
Well, so you're not counting calories. Do you track your protein, or do you track anything else? Water, protein, anything?
no, I just make sure that there's some protein in every meal. You know, I've tried to do like, let's put protein powder in the overnight oats and stuff. And it starts tasting really processed. And I'm just like, you know, I like artificial sweeteners, but I'm just, you know, is this what I want to do every day? The answer is no. So I tend to prioritize whole foods, minimal processing, make it yourself if I can, you know, where I can.
Yeah,
And
we're
I
like
try
right there, man. Yeah.
to make sure that, as in like, don't just go have like lettuce on bread and call that a meal. That's not going to help your body much. So, you know, try to make sure there's some actual decent chunk of protein there. And that's about as much effort as I put into tracking my macros.
Yeah, no, we did Indian the other night, and I just had tandoori chicken and
Yep.
some dal, some lentils and stuff, and
Yep.
a piece of naan because I can never escape naan because it's like my weakness. It's my kryptonite.
It's fair. That's fair.
Well, how many sizes have you dropped then?
So I'm wearing extra large t-shirts for the first time since high school. I started at 3XL. And you know, the XL t-shirts are about right for me at the moment. I'm not sure at this point if I want to drop more weight or try to kind of add muscle and keep the same weight. We'll see what I want to do, but yeah.
Well, so Australian men's sizing, is it similar to the US or is it more European and smaller?
We have both. So we get imports from the US and then we also get imports from Asia. So you get
Tiny
some,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes like before, sometimes I needed 3XL and sometimes I needed 7XL, just depending on where it came from. Now it's the US sizing, I'm like single XL, and the Asian sizing, I'm now 3XL, which is a big change. Hilariously, I still don't see it when I look in the mirror because front on, my body profile hasn't changed that much. Everything's just gotten smaller, but like side on, you can definitely tell. And people are absolutely like, there have been people who haven't recognized me when like I went to an event about 4 months ago and I hadn't seen somebody for about a year and a half and they just walked straight past me. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't know what that is. And then when I was standing next to my partner, they came back and they were like, oh my gosh, Kevin, hi, you know, I didn't recognize you there. And so it's clearly different, but just because it's been so gradual, my brain hasn't caught up to that difference yet. So.
Do you tell people or?
Yeah, I tell everyone. My favorite way to tell people is they say like, "Have you lost weight? Like a lot of weight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "How?" And I'm like, "Drugs, lots of drugs." Um, and that really breaks the ice because right, everybody gets a little chuckle out of that, and then I'm like, "Okay, fine, not this, but Mounjaro." And they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's like Ozempic." And then they're like, "Oh, right, okay." And but I tell everyone because for me personally, I mean, I'm a gay man. I'm used to coming out of the closet already. It doesn't upset me. And if people want to judge me, like that's cool. You do you. But basically, I know that if I was my old self and I saw somebody around me losing 80 pounds, and I asked them, "How have you done it?" And they said, "Oh, just willpower, diet and exercise. Just really being a decent human." That would reinforce my own kind of self-loathing around this, and it would drive me more into like, why am I not as good as them? Why can I not do the things they can do? Why am I inferior, right? And I don't want to do that to anyone, and I have no idea who's struggling with weight around me. I mean, I know some people definitely are struggling with weight, but there are lots of people on the borderline where you're not sure if they're working to change it or if they want to change it or if they're happy where they are. Or and so I've taken it as a policy to just be open about it with everyone so that anyone who needs to hear it understands and knows what's going on and can make their own choices. And then that gives them an opening. I joke that Eli Lilly owes me some commission because I've gotten 5 people onto Mounjaro now. But I would much prefer that than people kind of think that it's their fault. So,
Do you
yes,
get any pushback, or
yeah.
does the Australian culture push back at all, or no?
Look, I mean, Aussies in general are very live and let live. More so than in the US, to be honest. Like there's less kind of picking around in your life and deciding how you should live it, um, which is one of the things I love about Australian culture. But there is definitely a kind of hard work thing that kind of cuts through. And every once in a while, somebody's like, "Oh, well, why wouldn't you just?" And as soon as they start with "Why wouldn't you just?" I know exactly what's coming next, right? Like,
Well, you
why?
still get that kind of frontier cowboy mentality going on there, right? So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we still like when the referees come out at a sporting event, we boo because we're not really into the whole authority thing. And so there is that kind of underculture of like, this was ultimately a prison colony when we
right.
started. And so there's a little bit of that kind of rebellious, non-puritanical, not going to conform to the rules thing, which means that like when same-sex marriage came in here, the rural areas actually voted more in favor of it than the cities, which really kind of
Wow.
surprised me given my experience in the US, right? Um, but it comes from this place of like, if it's not affecting me, then why do I care? And so most people are of that view. But a few people have said like, oh, really? Like, tell me more about that. Why wouldn't you just? And they're asking not in a judgmental way, but in a, why are you spending 254 US dollars every month for a medication if all you need to do is eat less? And I'm like, yeah. So there's a whole thing happening here that you may not be familiar with or have never experienced, but it's not just, there's no just about it. It's a deep seated biological drive, which is one of our most fundamental drives to survive. And that is very hard to fight if your body does not want to let that go.
And in a
So,
nuclear winter, I will survive and you will not. So,
yeah. I mean, look, my whole family is large, so the whole genetics loads the gun and environment pulls the trigger. I'm certain that I got both of those things. I have the genetics and I clearly had the environment. My mother did not like to cook, so we were largely raised on fast food. Um, that's my upbringing, and I don't eat that way now, but the damage is done, is my view. Um, my satiety is not going to self-regulate at this point without help. I accept that. That's not a problem. So I just need to do what I need to do. People say, I don't want to stay on a medication the rest of my life. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to wear glasses the rest of my life. But my alternatives are surgery, which then will last however long it lasts, but not forever. Or I could just keep putting these on. And like, I don't want to do it, but it's the best treatment option for me. So then I do it. And I think like we can't dictate to our bodies what treatment they need. So
I mean, I had been on blood pressure medication and cholesterol medication for 25 years.
yeah,
Eh, eh,
yeah,
I don't care.
yeah,
It's not,
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. But yeah, it's been funny to watch my partner because he's on blood pressure medication. And I've been kind of watching him, kind of going like, hey, are you gonna clock what's happening here? Are you gonna want the same thing? And the more he watches me, the more he's like, that's witchcraft. Like that. I don't know what that is, but that's scary. I don't want to touch it. So we'll see how long he.
Everybody has to take their own path, you
Yeah.
know.
Yep. Yep. 100%.
I mean, I've been very lucky. So Lorraine and I started doing this together, and it's just kind of worked for both of us together. And
Yeah.
you know, who knew? Honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't really believe it would work. I thought it was just flushing money down the toilet. And people are like, "Well, what's your goal weight?" I'm like, I didn't have a goal
Yeah.
weight. I thought this was like playing the lottery, and I was just going to
Yeah.
lose money.
Yep.
Turns
Yep.
out it works.
Yeah. Certainly did for me.
Crazy. Well, so have you gotten rid of any of your old clothes yet?
I have a pipeline for my clothes. So they start off as work shirts when they're nice and clean, and then they get ratty, they become bike shirts, and then they get ratty from that and they become rags. But now I'm at a point where all my bike shirts are nice and shiny and my rag pile is overflowing. So at some point I need to just admit it. I have bought new clothes, but I haven't yet fully flushed the old stuff. Because I think there's still a part of me that believes that it'll come back or I'll need it or um, and yeah, I mean, again, it's a bit like my denial, right? When I first started taking the medication, it'll just take me time, and I'll eventually accept that this is just stuff that I don't need. But
Well,
here we are.
and you're shopping in a regular store now, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I bought jeans off the rack at Costco here in Australia. It blew my mind because like I haven't been able to do that for 20 years. I just and I got the biggest size they had, and I was like, oh look, someday I'll fit into these. This will be my aspiration. Brought them home, they fit. I was like, okay, Kev, relax. You may have made more progress than you give yourself credit for. So
it's hard to tell. I mean, it's
Mm.
hard to tell. It's you hold stuff up, and what's in here and what's here aren't necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, now I need to go back and get smaller ones because I've already shrunk to the point where the big ones are kind of laughable, the same way it was when I went to the shop and was like, these will be my aspirational pair that fit the day I bought them. So yeah.
We were in, Lorraine and I were in Amsterdam, and I walked into a Zara, which is a Spanish department store. So it all tends to be a little small. I was like, nothing will fit me in here. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It all fit.
Yeah.
And in Amsterdam, if you've ever heard the story, it was a couple of years ago. I had lost my luggage on a flight, and I was speaking at a conference, and I was 300 pounds. Well, the Dutch are all tall and skinny. So I walked into a suit shop, and the man said, "We have nothing for you."
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's a thing. Yeah.
and what happened was one of the shop ladies followed me out, and she handed me a card. She said, "There's one store in the city that can help you.
Eh,
One
yeah.
store."
Yeah. When I first moved here, it was really hard to find clothes in general, just because we hadn't really a lot of like Costco wasn't here when I moved here. A lot of the kind of more American influenced things just hadn't yet arrived. And so it was just difficult to find those things. But of course, now Costco's here, they just immediately kind of approach it like, well, let's just look at the statistics. Oh, it turns out 30% of people in this country need these clothes. Maybe we should stock 30% of our stock with the stuff that people need. And so they have just taken that approach, which has made it a lot easier. But yeah, when I first got here, it was tough. There was a big and tall man store, and I went and found swim trunks, and they were $95 for a swimsuit
Oh, good Lord.
because they were just like, well, we're at the place if you want the big and tall clothes, and that's what it costs. So then I started ordering everything online, and doing that whole trick. But yeah, we're advancing. We're kind of getting drag kicking and screaming into the future here. So it's good.
Well, so in Australia, well, let me back up. So when I walk a Walmart today, believe it or not, when you walk through the health and beauty section, the center aisle will be constipation remedies and protein.
Right.
Are you seeing, is it big enough in Australia yet that you're starting to see the Woolworths and the Coles and the stuff react, or no?
No. I mean, they have like sales on protein powder and stuff, but like
Yeah,
nothing's moved in the shop, and that's in the health food aisle, and that's
right.
I think there's been more protein bars that have launched in the last year than I've seen for ages. But I guess because it's still out of reach for most Australians, given the pricing. I don't think we've seen the mass uptake the way that compounds in the States have allowed
Yeah.
kind of mass uptake. Um, I'm really keen to see the new meds launch. I'm really keen to see the patent on semaglutide expire in Canada.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
lots of things are coming that may change that equation. But basically, most Australians end up on Wegovy because it is cheaper here than Mounjaro, and then people sometimes get up to the 2.4 dose and they go, it's not working. They switch to Mounjaro. They might get up to even 10 milligrams, and then they're like, look, I just cannot afford 12 and a half. I just can't. So this is as far as I get to go. And it's tough to watch people be denied treatment just because they can't afford it, but the system is the system. So
Well, fortunately, there is a good sized path forward for a lot of new medications and different companies and stuff. So
yeah,
hopefully that helps the price for everybody sooner or later.
yeah. I mean, I do have a lot of hope for the future on that front. We're getting generic liraglutide here, so Saxenda Victoza
Yeah.
should be coming this month in Australia, which will give people some option if they can't afford the others. Um, yeah, looking forward to seeing how that all evolves.
Well, so if you had to give somebody advice that was thinking about whether or not they should use these medications, what would you say?
I would say my path in was reading the clinical trials, and I know I'm a weirdo, so that is
Okay.
not the way in for everybody. But what I would say is gather an amount of data that makes you feel comfortable with what you're about to do to your body. Understand what it is, what it does. A lot of people have a lot of worries around, like, is this going to cause me to get low blood sugar? Is this going to give me different things? And the answer to those questions is well and truly settled. So my advice is read enough that you know what you're about to embark on, and then give it a shot. I think that basically a lot of people let their fear over what might happen prevent them from accessing what could happen. And it doesn't need to be like that. This, for most people, for the vast majority of us, this is a big nothing burger. And there's sometimes some side effects that people need to work on a little bit. There are the extreme rare cases that do have bad outcomes, but that is true with just about anything. And so my general advice is there's a reason these medications have been assessed as safe and effective by our regulators. There's a reason that they are recommending them for the people that are clinically indicated to receive them. And it's because being on the medication is better than being obese for your health, full stop. And so you can look at how scary the meds are, balance that against how scary obesity is, because I was not actually educated when I started doing that reading. And I was thinking like, oh gosh, I'm reading about all these things that might happen with the med. And then I was like, well, it's only fair to compare what might happen if I don't, right? And so then I started reading about what obesity actually does. And that was when I was like, oh, I see. This time.
Yeah. Well, I woke up one morning and realized that my mother, who had died about 3 years older than I was when I started the medication, basically from heart problems that were obesity related.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just for whatever reason, it just clicked in my head and scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, and I just got to a point where it wasn't a matter of if I was going to die from it. It was a matter of when I was going to die from it.
And
And
how.
I could grow
Yeah.
a tail from this medication. I don't give a but
Yep. Yep.
the odds of me dying from it are pretty slim. It's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Well, this is why my goal weight at the moment is in the overweight category. My job here is to reduce my risks, not to physically alter my appearance. And in fact, my partner and I are from the bear community, so for him, I'm actually less attractive the more weight I lose. So I find it kind of funny being in these groups because most people are like, oh, I want to get hot. I'm like, as I do this, I'm getting less hot to the people that I care about. But I'm not doing it to be hot. I'm doing it for my health. I genuinely, there is no upside for me on the appearance front. So I'm kind of backwards in that regard, but it is for my health. And so that's the markers that I care about. That's the goals I care about. And that has been a really good choice.
You take it day by day. You see how you feel, and
Yeah,
make the decision that's right for you.
yeah. Yeah.
I think it's really exciting, man. It's good. It's good to see you all the way on the other side of the world having success with it at 2.5. Everybody wants to do that.
Yeah. I'll send you the graph because it's basically a straight line down with the month-long stalls. You can't really see them now. There's been long enough that it just kind of blends in, but they're in there. Didn't feel like a constant line while I was on it, but looking back on it, I'm glad I have that data. So.
Well, this is a long-term play. It's not I'm going to lose
Yeah.
50 pounds in 2 months. I'm going to hold my breath and try not to drown. And
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's life.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. I'm just gonna keep doing this until it doesn't work, and I need to do something else. And I every day that goes by, I expect it to stop working any minute now, and I have to accept I've been on this over a year at this point, and I just kind of have to accept like, no,
You know what?
we're good.
Every day that I'm 100 pounds down is a damn good day. So
Yep. Yep.
it is. Well, very good, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us. Anyway, if anybody out there would like to do this, just like Kevin did, you can reach out to me, Christopher at thedownsized.org. We'll set it up. I'll send you a link. Super easy to do. And in the meantime, please make sure you like and subscribe to The Downsized. All right. And
Yep.
we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me, Kevin.
Thank you.